Welcome back to Virginia International Raceway. It is time for qualifying for the Blancpain GT World Challenge America here at Virginia International Raceway, presented by Henry Repeating Arms. And this should be spectacular. These cars are just absolutely remarkable in their performance. And Cal, you compare these cars, and you combine them, I should say, with this track. This should be just absolutely a joy to watch.
Oh, it's spectacular. And talking to drivers who are competing here for the very first time, their minds are blown by the commitment factor around VIR. Just over 3¼ miles. It's a high-speed racetrack, 2 long straightaways, plus the high-speed climbing S's. But so far this weekend, the Bentley boys have been testing here, and they showed up with real pace. This is the new generation car, not the car they competed with here last year, even though Soule and Baptista had a brilliant victory.
Cars based on the manufacturer's road-going supercar, so the performance in the road-going car absolutely spectacular. And then I like how you had phrased this before with the racing adrenaline built in as well. I mean, these things are race prep to the nth degree. Lots of power, huge downforce, and great drivers. It's really a great showcase here. And the manufacturers have stepped up. A large number of manufacturers here in the Blancpain GT World Challenge America program. And it's all part and parcel of the Global World Challenge Manufacturer Championship that comprises the series that based on 3 different continents. So lots to play for here. The U.S. Championship, essentially, as well as a Global Manufacturers Championship.
Yeah, and right now we have Ferrari and Mercedes represented in that with drivers on the grid. Ryan Dial and Colin Brown are now the Mercedes guys taking over from the JC Perez team that's no longer competing here in this championship. So lots to play for on the global scale as well as this weekend here in Virginia.
And this is the first step, obviously. We've had some practice sessions, but this is the opportunity now for these drivers to go out and establish the starting position. And this is a long track. It's a joyous track. It is a little narrow. There are passing opportunities, but these cars are so aero-sensitive. I mean, look at the hood of that Bentley and the extractors and the like. You get into the wash of a car in front of you, it can make it a little difficult to pass. So Johnny O'Connell put it beautifully a couple of years ago when he started running the GT3 cars here. He said qualifying is tip of the sword the entire session because you've got to get a good qualifying run, and if you're buried back in the pack, it's a long day in the race car.
It is, but there are some high-speed sectors, so if you can get out of Oak Tree, which is not a high downforce corner, and get a run on someone and catch the draft, there's the opportunity as you get into the brake zone for the roller coaster. Plus, you got that 10-minute pit stop window where a lot of things can happen with strategy and execution. 60 seconds is the amount of time you're allowed on pit lane. That is pretty tight. You're going to spend just 20 seconds driving down here at 50 kilometers an hour, plus the servicing with refuel and driver change.
Here's a look at the layout, and you've got 3 sectors that they'll be tracking. 3 very different sectors in terms of what you need from the car, but in the end, it completes an amazing lap through the Virginia countryside.
It does. There's a little bit of a rest down that back straightaway and down the front, but the rest of it is extremely busy, high commitment. First sector, that breaks down into turn 1 is a good overtaking opportunity. Then it gets very tight and technical, great rhythm through that sector, then into the snake up through the S's, and then that real key launch off at Oak Tree, turn 12.
It's going to be interesting to see what we're going to see for times here. I mean, the conditions we have seen this morning are perfect. We've had some very fast laps. The only dry session for these cars, fastest time was set by Andy Suchek in the number 9 Capex Bentley at a 1:40 44.369. Last year's pole time, however, by Daniel Morad, at the time driving a Mercedes for CRP Motorsports, was a 1:41.9. So best time we've seen from these cars here this weekend thus far, way off where they were in qualifying. But it was also the very first session the cars are out on track. Lots of different agendas that they're playing with here. And so we're getting ready to go. Real quick, it's been 6 weeks since the first round of the championship at Circuit of the Americas. Viewers that may have missed that round, let's talk a little bit about the difference in the Sprint X rules for the Blancpain GT World Challenge America category this year. Race length longer and some changes in that pit stop format.
Yeah, it's almost becoming like an endurance event because you got refueling happening now, 4-tire mandatory tire change. It's a 90-minute race. The pit stop window is between the 40-minute mark of the race and 50 minutes. Driver change takes place there, refuel. And there's a lot going on, and there's a 60-second minimum pit stop time, but that is not a lot of fluff there. There's not a big margin there to get it wrong. You get a seatbelt hung up, you're not sitting there with 10, 20 seconds extra to play with. You've got to execute.
It's one of the things I really like that the officials in the championship have made those minimums tight.
Yeah.
They said because
that
puts the crew into it. Yeah,
it looks silly when the cars are just sitting still and waiting to be released.
It does. And it puts the crew into it. And, you know, when some of the teams have said, boy, that's tight, we're not sure, it's like, well, others seem to be able to do it. You need to get with the program here. And they have. They've stepped up, and we've seen you know, races decided, as you would expect, through fabulous strategy, overcuts, undercuts, and the pit stops. And, well, I'll tell you, when these cars, these probably P0s are up to temp and pressure here, that run with the downforce and the power of these cars through that climbing S's, it's magic.
It really is. It's sensational. Speaking of just gearing up here, just trying to generate a little bit of tire temp in these Pirelli P0s. Lap 3 and 4, you'll start to see some fast laps.
Speaking of magic, this was the magic weekend in many ways for Rodrigo Baptista last year. They came in here, Pro-Am combination. Obviously, he and Maxime Soulet, and promptly went out and won the race overall in a Pro-Am car. And he had a good run, and did Rodrigo in the second race as well. Mike Skeen snookered him a little bit, which is Mike Skeen's knowledge of this place and the like. But that was what really, ultimately, I think, got everybody saying, maybe Rodrigo's not an AM anymore. Bumped him up into Pro, which frustrated him for a little bit because he was obviously looking good for the Pro-Am Championship. And then he went out and just destroyed everybody in the finale in the sprint at Watkins Glen. And it was like, okay, right call.
Total class.
Yeah, truly was.
Or should I say outclassed the field?
Yeah. And this second gen of the Bentley Continental GT3 machine, and it is as effective as it looks wicked, isn't it?
It is. It's a much more user-friendly piece. Easy for the drivers to really commit. The other one's a little bit edgy. Didn't really ever get the right balance, even though you could achieve lap time from the car. So it's a nice improvement for the team and the drivers. Took these cars at the end of the California 8-hour last year and got them under their wing, and the K-Pax team did a beautiful job. So much experience there from the strategy side, from the preparation side. They tick all of the boxes.
He had a 1-2 in that first and only dry practice session. Here, your defending series champions. And the number 61 R Ferry Motorsports Ferrari, the Ferrari of Ontario, Alberta, and Toronto, and Zekelman Industries car. This was the car that maybe was the revelation of the opening couple of races at Circuit of the Americas. Martin Barkey, the AM driver, Cal Marcelli, very talented pro driver, ended up with an overall pole in that second race and went on with a tremendous run. And for Racer's Edge, this is a big step from the GT4 to GT3. And John Maracchi and that Racer's Edge team said, we're up for it.
They are, and it was really a testament to the operation that John Maracchi's put together there, because to come in at this level, certainly a lot of experience in GTS, GT4 competition, but to come up to GT3 and compete like that with a relatively new piece to them. Certainly this Evo on the NSX is a big improvement, but to put that car on the overall pole and win the Pro-Am class that day, that was a big, big statement for that small team.
Just look at the flow through those S's. Car's just stuck. Tricky turn number 10.
Team tested here for a couple of days, so they felt that was a big advantage. With the little bit of rain out yesterday, they felt that would be good news for them in terms of other teams not playing catch-up over the race weekend, so they should be dialed in. Got another new entry this weekend from Real Time Racing with Brett Curtis, who's out in this session, going to be sharing that car with Dane Cameron.
Look at this great angle, Cal.
This is cool.
Watch this when he gets into 14. There's your roller coaster.
Short shift there. All the road out to the right. Tricky part to commit to. This racetrack through that sector is always turning, so you're just feeling the edge of the road as your eyes are looking in the opposite direction. Always tricky when you got elevation change and that's happening.
Currently it's Alvaro Parent at a 145.175 fastest. It's not quite as quick as they won that practice session, and again, a couple of seconds off of where Murad was able to qualify last year. It'll be interesting to see what we get to here. Here comes Parent down the hill, had a big first sector. Let's see what he does as he comes down to the bottom. A 1:45.1 was the best time. A 44.3, so big chunk.
It's right in the range they ran yesterday, isn't it?
Yeah, they had a 44.36 was the fast lap yesterday.
Okay. I think it's probably going to take a lot more than that.
I think so too. Baptista comes through at a Brent at a 43.8.
Yeah, so it's Baptista who laid down to 44.3, the other Bentley.
So, yeah. Molina sits third right now in the 61 Ferrari at a 47.1, ways off, so next lap's
They're just gradually bringing that Ferrari up to pace. Bechtelsheimer jumps up to the top of the Pro-Am heap. Was fastest in the wet here yesterday. A lot of experience over in the UK running in wet conditions, so he was totally at home.
And running in wet conditions in his old historic cars with skinny tires as well, so he probably felt, boy, there's a ton of grip here. It's Molina, Ferrari factory driver.
Tied for the championship lead, coming off the brilliant championship last year. He and Tony Vilander formed a formidable partnership very quickly. Both Ferrari factory guys, but hadn't really driven together in the same car until last season with our Ferry.
And I think, I probably would need to really confirm this, but I think this may be the only track on the schedule that our Ferry and this Ferrari have not achieved an overall win at. So that would be one they'd like to tick.
Brent, got another bullet lap going.
Oh, doesn't he?
Purple all the way through.
43.6.
Batista's right there with him.
Yeah,
only
sure
a tenth
is.
off.
Hensler now takes the 24 Allegra Porsche. The Instinct Healthcare Solutions entry up into third. It's a very nice lap at a 44.9. Pushes Molina to fourth. Pat Long in the 58 Porsche Consulting Wright Motorsports Porsche sits fifth. Then Bechtelsheimer, then last year's pole sitter, Morad. Nice lap by David Askew, jumped up into the Pro-Am top spot, but Bechtelsheimer followed him through and displaced him once again, but only a couple of tenths off. Back a little bit farther, number 43, Brett Curtis is real-time racing in that 43 Acura NSX GT3 Evo you were talking about. Makes its debut for the season and returns to the championship real-time. Just a ridiculous number of championships in various categories they've won over the years.
Long, oh, right on the limit there, coming through Hogpen.
Looking to improve on his 1:45.7. And does, jumps to second at a 43.7.
Splits the Bentleys, nice lap by Pat.
Here's Morad.
Boy, was this a coming out party for him a couple of years ago. Remember when he held off?
Bleekemolen.
Yeah, that was a statement.
Yeah, it was. Turned over to then co-driver Ryan Dial and went on for the win. Then last year, as I said, put it on pole. That's when I think everybody realized this is somebody you're going to have to follow. Jumps to fourth, and then immediately displaced by Molina, who returns the Ferrari up into the fourth spot.
As Imperato currently at the top of the heat from Bechtelsheimer, Askew and Curtis.
Nice lap by Imperato in the Henry Repeating Arms Porsche. Wright Motorsport, and really remarkable because they missed the one dry session yesterday. It was an aerodynamic imbalance. It was something with the splitter, we understand. They got it fixed, and they put Matt Campbell in the car to get a few more laps in the wet session. So this is really their first dry session with the car in proper trim, and Imperato doing a superb job. He did a little testing here
Had a big shunt, though. They had to replace the chassis, and it's good to come back at a track that is high commitment and coming off a crash to be able to jump to the top of the heap is making a statement about his confidence level. Spoke to Matt Campbell this morning. He said essentially the splitter was a repaired splitter, and I think it may have been delaminating. He didn't give me the true details, but something was causing a heavy vibration, so they had to park the car and attend to that early in the session yesterday.
Ooh, big save by Daniel.
Doing the Scandinavian flick through the S is not really the way to go.
Just watching in the AM category, the 19-111 competition, Ferrari, Brian Kaminsky had been at the top, and as I was looking at it to confirm it, Cesar Baccarella, the number 7 Hublot, Alpha Prime Ferrari from TR3 and Scuderia Corsa Garage Italia, jumps up into the AM provisional pole, pushing Kaminsky back. So it's Parent in the Bentley, number 9, then Long in the 58 Porsche, Baptiste in the number 3 Bentley, Molina in the 61 Ferrari, and the 22 Porsche, Murad. We're watching here, rounding out your top 5.
Yeah, let's watch Murad, because he'd gone purple in Sector 1, then he had that big moment in Sector 2 and had to pretty much abort the lap and regroup.
Okay. Look at Martin Barkey.
4th in class right now in the Pro-Am division.
Imperato, Bechtelsheimer, David Askew.
Could be a good little battle here between the 3 NSXs, with Bechtelsheimer currently holding the 2nd position in class. Barkey 4th, Curtis 5th. Great to see Brett competing again on US soil.
Yes,
ran the ELMS championship last year. Really enjoyed it. There is that new car.
Throwback color graphics on it. Like to see that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And his teammate Dane Cameron is paying homage to his uncle Steve Cameron, who had success in Acura competition and colors back at the Daytona 24-hour race back in the early 90s, and he's painted his new lid identical to Steve, so cool to see that here this weekend.
Cool. Ooh, problem for Cesar Baccarella. Looks like he
exited turn 1, just looped it around, looks like.
Yep, he got away with it here. Trying not to interfere with anybody coming through. Take a look at it here. Yep.
And just a little lazy spin when you started to turn. If you keep the weight on the front on the brakes, it'll loosen up the rears a little bit, but he gets away with it. Shouldn't be any damage to the race car.
Dane now is a 2-time prototype champion, isn't he?
1-time prototype. He won
GTD, I remember.
GTD, and that was how the association with Brett came about, because he won with Turner Motorsports in the BMW Z4, right. And then Brett was competing with it, and they brought Dane in to do some coaching, so they established a nice relationship, and they've always had the desire to compete together. And when Petey Cunningham and the real-time group started talking to Brett, they were looking for a good teammate, and obviously with Dane now under the Acura umbrella as a Penske driver, it was a good fit.
Here's a look at the number 99. That is 8th in the Pro-Am category right now, Alfred Caiola, who is making a big step up from Ferrari Challenge. They also run the 488, but it is the non-GT3 variant. Still very quick. And his co-driver, now Matt Plum, has been tabbed to be one of the drivers who's accruing points for Ferrari in the Manufacturers Championship. But Matt was very quick yesterday, off here by George Kurtz.
George had been really quick here earlier this weekend in the opening session. This team also coming off a strong
flag
test.
Session will not be resumed.
Pretty good lick there. It's coming through turn 11 right before Oak Tree.
Just you get a little wide there and you drop your tires. And again, we had all that rain yesterday. And you hear the announcement from race director that has said the session has been red flagged. With the amount of time left, it will not resume. So essentially, the checker is out. It goes back to the completion of the last lap. And I wanted to point out a good run here. David Askew up into 3rd in the Pro-Am category in the Yuselco DXDT car. Remember, he had a pretty big shunt at Circuit of the Americas. And
first round, and he was running really well.
Yes.
And, had to rebuild that chassis, and I spoke to Ryan Dial about that, and because sometimes with the amateur drivers, it's all about confidence and building that, and you have a big one, sometimes it can really shake your ability to get back on the horse, so to speak. But he said no, he said he does mad stuff in a sailboat, so he's not intimidated at all, got immediately back on it when he got to a test, and feels good about the weekend.
And showed it with that qualifying run, 3rd in the AM category. And there's Alvaro Parent as he climbs out of the number 9 K-Pax Racing Bentley that he has just put on the provisional pole for the first of the 2 races, and he'll be turning over to Andy Suchek.
John 58 is behind me.
As they
He'll
get
be
ready.
looking for a better weekend than he had here last year.
Yes.
It was a rough start for the K-Pax group, particularly Alvaro, with being involved in big incidents and many chassis.
All right, Ryan Marine has caught up with Alvaro. Let's head down and hear from our provisional pole sitter, Ryan.
Alvaro Parent on pole in the Bentley. Congratulations, first of all. I saw you leaning in and giving your co-driver Andy just a little bit of a debrief there a few moments ago before he goes out to qualify. What was your message to him?
Now, we were just discussing a little bit some braking points and something that you gain with the new tires, because yesterday it was raining second session and we didn't do as much testing as we would like, but nobody did. So all good, and yeah, discussing a little bit where the new tires you can get advantage and everything. And for now, it's going really well. The car works well here. We prepared this race extremely well. And let's see what we can do. We're on the front row for the first race. Andy, he's been on it all weekend, and even in the test we did here. So I'm sure he'll relax and get a really good lap in.
The previous generation Bentley was quick here last year. We saw that with the sister car. How about this new generation? Where is it perhaps even better than the previous gen was?
Yeah, this track is good for the Bentleys, first and second generation. I much prefer this second generation car. Comparing to the previous is just much better all around, especially traction coming out the corners. It feels like a solid car, and I'm enjoying a lot driving the car. And we've started well the year, so let's keep it going and turn this around from what we had last year.
Yeah, sounds like a plan. Good luck in the races this weekend.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and you alluded to it, Cal, what happened last year. He had a decent qualifying run, got clipped going into the first turn. Huge impact. They were done for the weekend.
Yeah, they just couldn't believe their luck at the start of last year. They turned around mid-season, got some victories, but they were certainly looking forward to a fresh start for 2019.
And in the opening race of this championship this year, the Bentleys went 1-2 in qualifying at Circuit of the Americas. Great lap by Pat Long there to split him here. He was dancing on the edge and made it work.
Yeah, he really was. We caught the end of that lap as he came down through the roller coaster and out of hog pen, totally on the limit, but knowing that was the lap, he had to keep it all together and just missed out on the pole position, but I'm sure they're pleased to split the Bentleys and put the first of the Porsches up on the front row.
Absolutely. Take a look at the numbers highlighted in black. Those are the Pro-Am cars, and that's Anthony Imperato in the number 91. Wright Motorsports, Henry Rifle Porsche, doing a nice job. Till Bechtelsheimer in the number 5 Gradient Acura in the second spot. And the 63 of David Askew in the Usulco DXDT Mercedes rounds out the top 3. Barkey in 4th in the number 80. MBRP entry from Racer's Edge, and then rounding out the top 5, Brett Curtis in the 43 real-time car. Good news for George Kurtz. We saw a shot here as the 04. Once they pulled him away from the tire barriers, there were some wrinkles on the left side of the car, but he was able to drive away under his own power.
Well, good news that the car should be in good shape for the race. We've still got a question mark whether that car will be up and ready for Colin Brown to take his qualifying opportunity here in this session. This will be a good one because obviously there's pro-pro combinations, so there's equal speed in some of the front-running pro-pro combination cars, but in the Pro-Am it's now the pros of those combinations, so this will be fun.
And this will be great. That's one of the things we talk about, the first half of the second race on the weekends when it's the all the pros on board is spectacular. But what ends up being really exciting as well is then you get some very talented AM drivers that get on board. And in that battle for the AM category, they are all up at the sharp end, and so it gives them the extra motivation to scrap and fight, and it gets to be really, really intense. But you're right, this should be fun. Cars are getting ready to go. And you talk about the pro side of the combination. You mentioned you ran into Matt Campbell. Phenomenal start to the season for him at Bathurst. But before we talk more about that, let's get back down to Ryan, who's found Pat Long.
Yeah, he did a great job to split those Bentleys, which have looked so strong this weekend. The guys in the booth made a note. They were watching your lap, and they said it looked like it was on the ragged edge. Did it feel that way to you?
Yeah, the car was dancing there on the final corner through the hog pen. I really went for it. I mean, VIR, we talked about it. It's a place where you have to use every single inch. There's layers of curbs, and so, yeah, threw it together, linked a perfect lap, and happy to be up there with the Bentleys. They've been tough to challenge this year.
How about the strength of the Porsche relative to the Bentleys? Come race time, do you think you've got enough to race with them over the course of an hour and a half?
We hope Porsche Intelligent Performance comes through. Lighter, more agile, better on the brakes. We don't have the straight line speed. We know that. So we're going to have to play a little bit of defense on the straights, but at VIR, that's easier to do than some places. So we like our chances here compared to COTA.
Well, thanks for putting on a show for us in qualifying. Good luck come race time.
Thanks. It's good to be back on this side of the camera.
Yeah, we had the pleasure of having him in the booth with us at Long Beach, and absolutely a delightful addition, I thought.
He was total pro in every aspect of this game.
Here's a look back at the number 9, Andy Suchek. It'll be interesting to see. Apparently, they think that car is adequate to go, and they've stuffed Colin Brown behind the wheel and said, all right, let's see what you got.
Yep.
And he will certainly do that. Get back talking real quick about Matt Campbell, who'll be out in the number 91. Stunning run late in the going at Bathurst in the 12-hour race there to grab the win after a late caution. Shows up next time on American soil, runs with the Wright Motorsport team at the California 8 hours, and was just absolutely on it there. He's the real deal, isn't he?
He is. To have a Le Mans win and a Bathurst win on your resume this early is pretty impressive. So yeah, the kid is for real, and I don't know where Porsche keep finding these young boys, but they always seem to step up.
Well, Porsche has created a fairly good ladder, haven't they?
They do with the Carrera Cup and the various championships globally. It allows them to really see who can drive one of these cars at the ultimate level. The standard is so high in those championships that if you really excel and dominate, that gets Porsche Motorsports attention.
Well, I mean, the guy that Campbell was driving for at Bathurst, Earl Bamber, was maybe the poster boy in a lot of ways for that whole program.
Talk about a driver or a guy who can't do anything wrong. Wins championships, goes to Le Mans in a prototype for the first time, wins overall. Says, I'll dabble at running a race car, wins Bathurst. It's like, okay.
Yeah, as a team owner.
And went buy my lottery ticket.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, that was amazing because I think they decided they put the team together 2 months before the race and then go out and win the thing. And I have to say, I thought one of the sharpest looking graphic packages on a car, having been recently, done the bucket list trip and went to New Zealand, and the silver feather and the legend of all that, and to see that Porsche in the black with the feather wrapping around the rear, they just did it all right, and then go out and win the thing.
Yeah.
Pretty good stuff.
You like Bathurst?
Yes.
What an amazing place.
Unreal. I mean, you've been there for a race week, and when I was there was no racing, which allowed me to get out and I put in more laps than the rental car company would probably want to know. But driving around that at reduced speed, it's 2 lanes, so you're not heading, I'm not to be dumb or anything, so I'm not diving to apexes and blank corners.
What was your pit stop time? Were you and Jude? Were you within the Delta?
Yeah. There was no driver changes, though. But the interesting thing was you drive around that place and you just go, I can't imagine driving this in a race car with somebody cars around me at amazing speed. Then you think back to the days when they used to ride motorcycle sidecars around that place. You imagine the monkey hanging off a sidecar at that place? Yeah, no.
Not for me.
Nope. All right. We are getting ready to go. Round number 4, essentially. Second race of the doubleheader weekend, but 4th round of the championship. Qualifying underway, Q2.
This will be a goodie.
Yes, it should be. You know, a guy we always kind of keep an eye out for in this is the AM driver, Martin Fuentes. Because, I mean, last year here for the second race, and yes, that was fastest laps in that era. He had a 4th overall start. I mean, the guy can throw down some laps, and he can get in here and mix it up just a little bit. So,
yeah, when he's duking it out with Tony Vilander,
yeah,
so just like that is making a statement, not only for him but also the team. They really did an amazing job.
Got to keep a very close eye here on this car. As you said,
Colin's getting a good feel here after the little whack that George had.
So those tires, you know, you absorb so much energy, and if you hit them just the right way, you can get away with it, and they may have.
Talking to George yesterday, he just said he's really gained a lot of confidence with this car. Remember, he came off that GTSA championship in 2017. Just didn't really find a good place last year with a new platform, but this year making the move, Colin giving him great guidance. He was coaching him before, but now co-driving with him on a full-time basis. He said, this Mercedes really allows me to get going again. He's looking forward to a great season.
Yeah, he was dominant on his way to that GTS AM category.
9 wins he had?
9 wins, 8 in a row at one point.
Yep.
But that was that was in a McLaren, and he just didn't, when he shifted to I think it was the Audi the next year, that platform didn't work for him. But yeah, he seems a lot happier here. And Scott Hargrove now will be driving the car that Pat Long put to the outside of the front row for the first race here. And Scott Hargrove was pretty amazing last year at the season opener in St. Pete.
Yeah, swept there, and went on to, it was a tough year from that point forward in terms of getting the big results that he and the FAF Motorsports team were looking for, but ultimately claimed the sprint championship.
Ducks into the pits in the number 63 that David Askew took to 3rd in the Pro-Am qualifying session for the first race of the doubleheaders. Now Ryan Dial on board, who is superb. It's nice to have Alex Barron back in a race car. Spent a lot of time, one of the top drivers in the old Pro Atlantic Championship back in the day. A lot of IndyCar racing. He's running with Brian Kaminsky in the number 38.
Laying Suchek. Suchek had a pretty tough Bathurst, and I'm not sure what the real politics were, but we didn't see him compete at the 8 Hours of California in the IGTC race, so not sure if that was a little sit down for Andy to get him to pay attention, but you know he's going to be up on the wheel, and I think Alvaro even alluded to that in terms of Andy's been on it this weekend and just trying to calm him down, so I'm sure he's out to make a statement.
Well, Andy was the one who set that fastest time in that lone dry session, that 44.3. Suchek, who got that done. Up and on the curbs, working through Hog Pen. See what kind of a time.
I think this next lap will start to get representative. Not this one, but one more.
44.7, not bad for the first flyer, but you're right. The number 9 has the yellow trim, the 3 the blue trim.
Cameron goes purple in sector 2. That is commitment. Jumping over those curbs. Totally legit in terms of track limits. You're allowed all the way out there. Cameron to the top, 44.6. Debut of this new car. Ran 3rd in the practice session yesterday.
Yeah, it was quick. Marco Holzer in the number 24. Eversley jumps to 3rd in the Gradient Acura, the number 5. That he shares with Bechtelsheimer. Greg Leofoge in the BMW from Stephen Cameron Racing. And he shares with Henry Schmidt up into the 4th spot.
Cameron and Suchek really the only guys with representative laps down in the 44 range. Everyone else is Holzer now steps up to join that party. 144.9 for 3rd position.
Suchek Purple in the first 2 sectors on this one, as you might expect. He was full on commitment here.
Yeah, Dana's given up this lap. He's looking for air, I would think, but Soucek is on a flyer.
Here we go. Boy, look at the margins he's
Should be
had.
a pole lap here. Big,
This-
big lap.
I think so. 42, you think?
I don't know about that, but it's going to dip into that 43 range, you'd have to think.
Yeah,
43.3.
43. Wow. Great lap.
Yeah, big one. That might be tough to beat. Yal up to second. He dips into the 43 range of 43.9. Good lap there for the DXDT. Number 63 Mercedes AMG.
Soucek, huge wiggle as he comes through the exit of 3. Looks like he's still on it here.
Yeah, well, that time may be tough to beat, but maybe he's the only man who can beat it.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. And the Acura. Oh, a nice lap by Colin Brown. I guess that tells us the 04 is in not bad shape here.
Yeah.
Jumps to third at a 144.166. Marcelli up now into the 4th spot behind Brown. So this is interesting, isn't it?
You got Bentley, 2 Mercs, 3 Acura
Acuras.
NSX. Cameron bailed on that last lap, so I see if he can piece together a good lap here. First sector looks more representative.
Fuentes, not a surprise, leading AM at this point at a 146.1. More to come. Here's Colin up through the S's. Ooh, just threw up a little cloud of dirt with that right rear coming through 10. That is on the edge.
God, just puts the power down so well.
It is. That's that one thing we've talked about with this car over the last couple of years is it just seems to be able to soak up bumps and still give that platform that you need, like you said, to get power down.
Yep.
Just transitions so easily. And it sounds nice. Cameron, third, it jumps up to third at a 144.0.
It's a great lap for Dial. That team will be pumped about that.
Yeah. There's Hargrove.
Just don't know what happened there when he
Purple
ducked into the
sector.
pits, whether he just did a tire pressure adjustment.
Yeah.
You're limited to what changes you can. Ooh, that's commitment. That's a great angle there, watching
It
that
is.
attack into the brake zone.
Down the roller coaster. Now heading into hog pen, so named because back in the day there was a hog pen off the exit of that corner.
Hargrove was purple in sector 1. This should be
Yeah.
a decent lap.
Yeah, 47.0 previously. And second. 43.575.
Nice lap. Everyone's stepping it up, though. Now have 5 cars in the 143 range.
Always like this angle for an onboard. Love seeing out the front and what's going on, but I love looking at the focus.
Soule into the mid 43 range. Jumps the Bentley up to third. So pretty much mirroring that first qualifying session with the 9 and the 58 Porsche split in the 2 Bentleys.
All right, here's turn 10. I think Hargrove is, well, let's see. Yeah, I don't think he's really on one here. Fastest speed through the trap belongs to the number 5 Gradient Acura, Eversley.
Vilander jumps up into the top 5. Making a late charge here with just under 5 minutes to go.
Fastest of the Pro-Am cars, Dial, 4th overall in the 63. Second, Colin Brown in the 04. That's Mercedes and Mercedes. Then third is Marcelli in the number 80 Acura. Then Cameron in the real-time number 43. And then Eversley. Here's a look at Dane.
Just went personal best. Sector 1. He's going to want to try and leap ahead of Marcelli and be the lead Acura in this qualifying session. The Races Edge team did do a 2-day test. The real-time boys just coming off a shakedown essentially at Autobahn, so it's a big learning curve for this group. They've got great engineering stuff they're working on getting the setup right. Second sector didn't look great. You can see it there, so not sure if this is going to move him up or not.
8th overall, 4th in class. It does. Second in class, up to 5th overall. So that third sector was a good one.
Yeah, a couple of tenths would put him on the front row. So if he can clean up that second sector a little bit, potential.
Here's a look at Martin Fuentes. He is comfortably quickest right now in the AM category. Oh, quick spin here, the 22 of Michael De Quesada. That's Oak Tree.
Just gets in a little bit wide, tries to pinch it. The problem there is if you let the car of its head and use the front end to sort of like wash out a little bit, sometimes you can never get it back. So drivers have been in that predicament before, as you see.
Here comes Dane.
Yeah, right out in traffic. See if there's any dirt on the racetrack here. As Cameron comes through, it's going to be tricky. Oh, nice job by De Quesada there, moving out of the way and being heads up.
And sadly, the legendary challenge of the Oak Fuzz isn't there anymore. How's Dane looking on this lap?
Nothing spectacular. Might be tough. He only needs a couple of tenths to really shove that car way up the order. Just nip and tuck between that. The boys right behind Suchek's time.
Well, he'll get another lap.
Certainly will. We'll get maybe 2 more laps.
Yeah, that's a good point. 43s, yeah. He was off by a tenth of his best time.
Yeah, he might just peak the tires. Might be tough to dig any deeper here to clean this lap up and move those slots up the grid. Raced with this team back at the California 8 Hours back in 2017 in the old generation Acura, and doesn't have a ton of seat time yet in this new one, but said it definitely feels better. Not as edgy and not as awkward to drive as the previous car. Just generates a lot more downforce.
Yeah, the original gen car, they said, was just amazingly pitch sensitive, wasn't it?
Yep.
And got that solved.
It's on the edge there. I just think those tires are peaked a little bit because he seems to be dropping a half tenth through a tenth on each sector. And he asked a lot there through the S's, and it nearly gave up on him.
There's Leofoge in the number 87. BMW of San Francisco, Steve Cameron Racing entry.
I think Dane's dad is working alongside his uncle running this car this weekend, so good little family battle going on. Ironically, this is the platform that Brett Curtis had so much success with Turner Motorsports, with this M6. Had a couple of wins with Klingman in sports car competition.
All right.
Vlander's on a good one, personal best.
And we're at 10 seconds to go in this session, and Tony, 37 flat in that first sector. I think the fastest is a 36.9.
Yeah, and Vlander's personal best sector too, so if he can finish off the lap, I don't think it's going to be good enough for the pole, but you may jump up a couple of slots here. Currently running 6.
He can move up 2 spots, he moves up a row, and that's big. Look at the 99 here.
Cameron moves up to 3rd.
Wow.
43.6.
That was that last. He just has that last. Vilander second. A 43.5, Cal.
Oh, big lap by Tony.
Oh.
That's really a good indicator maybe too for the race in terms of that car being strong late in the run.
Yep. Yeah, boy, the margin first to second is 0.2 of a second, 0.2, but second to third right now is 17 1/1000ths.
Yeah, I'm not sure he beat the flag. I think Vilander must have caught the flag, so he's probably done.
This is Matt Plum, currently 7th at Pro-Am in the 111 competition entry. The Mercedes. He was 6th quick overall in the dry practice session.
Matt's a really great racer.
Yes, he is.
So much success over the years, just really solid.
Well, he moved up 2 spots in the Pro-Am, went from 7th to 5th.
Yeah, that's a nice lap.
Yes, it is. Wow, what a lap late by Tony.
Be pleased with that one.
Yes, he will.
That's what it's all about, just executing. And sometimes there'll be a racetrack where you maybe not got the best horse. No pun intended with the Ferrari, but yeah, it's all about executing. And if you can't win, just maximize your point scores. That's what this team is so good at.
And Cameron in the debut for real time in the new Acura NSX Evo.
Yeah, only
puts
a
it
10th
on
off the
Pro-Am
front row,
pole.
so that's pretty cool. I think the big surprise there, looking at the lineup, is Campbell down in 10th overall.
Yes. But again, they're a bit behind the 8 ball in terms of tuning time here this weekend, aren't they?
They are, but with a 2-car team,
Yes,
I mean,
you
you've
would
obviously
think.
got that information flow between the two machines. And admittedly, he doesn't have a ton of laps here, but I think with this latest breed of drivers, track time doesn't mean much anymore. Simulators and everything else.
Into the pits comes Tony Vilander, but meanwhile, Ryan has found the program manager for Capex Racing, and Ryan, pretty good qualifying, back-to-back poles for that program.
Yeah, I should say so. He's going to have to wait on his Twitter a little bit here. Right. We interrupted him mid-tweet, but that said, a big smile on your face because you've got 2 poles in 2 sessions here. That's not bad at all.
No, it's really good. I mean, Capex has done a great job, and it really just basically goes to show all the hard work we put into this new car. Bentley's brought out the new 2nd generation car this year, and we were here testing prior to this, and to have the 9-car pole for both races and the 3 cars right up there as well. I mean, unbelievable.
And it was a challenging weekend, albeit with a win here at this track last year. So to put some of that behind you, show the pace, and put yourself at least in a good starting spot for these races, that's a good morale boost, is it not?
Oh, for sure. You know, and like you said, I mean, we had a couple tough races last year. The cars were good, but the new generation Bentley is unbelievable. And every time the guys get out of the car, they're like unreal, and they love it. So it's showing.
All right, we'll let you celebrate, let you get back on Twitter as well. We'll catch up with you later in the weekend, I'm sure.
Thank you.
And you want to get that news out to the social media universe right away, don't you?
That's right.
Boy, I'll tell you, what a lap by Tony to be able to find that late in the session. So here for the 2nd of the doubleheaders, or round 4 of the championship this weekend.
How tight that is. I mean,
know,
obviously
it's
a big lap by
unbelievable.
Suchek, but the rest of the gang right behind them fighting between hundreds.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the margins. Vilander to Hargrove, 17 1/1000. Hargrove to Cameron, 46 1/1000. Dial, 35, 12,000. I mean, it is as tight as it could possibly get. And, of course, that just bodes well for a fabulous race. And a 43.3, you've got to go back to, 10th to find somebody who's more than a second off that pace. That's not too shabby.
Can be fun.
Why do you think, I've got to ask this question, why do you think we're about a 1.5 seconds off of Murad's pole time from last year? Just
I don't know. I know teams testing here, we're not seeing any sort of representative lap times and saying the car feels good, just can't generate lap time. So I don't know whether it's just track condition has changed a little bit. I mean, racetracks are such curious, strange beings in terms of whether they'll give you that little percentage. It doesn't take much.
Right.
If you're just a little bit of grip off, suddenly the lap time isn't there, even though the balance feels good. But we'll try and check in with some of the teams and see from their data exactly where they feel they're losing out on the lap time from last year.
So Curtis and Cameron on the Pro-Am pole over Dial and Deskew, Brown and Kurtz, Marcelli and Barkley and Plum and Kale, the top 5 there. And then you go back to Fuentes in the number 7 on the AM pole with Cesar Baccarella in the 19 of Cagnazzi and his co-driver Brian Kaminsky. So let's get back down to Ryan, who has probably interrupted somebody else in the middle of a tweet storm.
Yeah, I think maybe before we got to Twitter just a little bit, our guys were wondering if you were already on social media to announce the fact that you were on pole once again. Nevertheless, it was a really fast lap for you and the team, sweeping both poles for this race in your car. How satisfying is that accomplishment?
Yeah, very much. As you can imagine, last year we didn't have the greatest season, but you know, I have to say that it's all thanks to K-Pax, because the fact that we came here testing for 2 days has made us prepared for the weekend. So lucky enough for us as well, yesterday it rained in the second session, so people couldn't really test their dry setups, and we knew exactly what to fit on the car. So I think we had that slight advantage towards the others. So I'd say it's thanks to the team. My lap was okay, obviously, otherwise you're not on pole. But as you say, second race, 2 poles, I couldn't be happier.
I heard you talking with both Darren and Alvaro, talking about starting up front and being able to manage the traffic from there. Is that going to be the key in these races?
Well, I think what we need to do is pole position means nothing apart from starting in the front. The race is obviously long, 90 minutes. Alvaro did a great job, as you said as well, but we need to try and pull a gap if we can at the beginning, have a clean pit stop. Anything can happen, as you know, so nothing is secured. I'm very pleased to be starting there, but as I say, the championship is very long. We're still second, 1 point behind, and we need to be clever, and if we have to take second, we need to take second.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you.
Well, that's a good point. You know, you talk about your 2 best friends in traffic. One is horsepower, obviously, because if you get stymied, you can just outmotor somebody. But the second one is having room to the guy who's chasing you so that you can be a little patient, be able to pick your spots and not risk.
They're in the prime position, as they said. It's worked out well. I think, you know, getting the rain here yesterday stymied some of the other teams of learning. The guys who tested here do have a leg up on the competition, but don't discount, like Vilander, the fact he's able to lay that lap down late in the session. They didn't test here. Cameron, that's the teams that they tested here for 2 days, K-Pax. The real-time boys, they're just shaking the car down, essentially, and they're very tight to the pace.
Absolutely. It's going to be a phenomenal race, and, of course, that race will be coming up later today right here at Virginia International Raceway, all part of the Blancpain GT World Challenge America at VIR, presented by Henry Repeating Arms. It's lunchtime here at VIR. Very busy afternoon of racing, so don't go too far away. We'd like to have you join us here for 5 races unfolding this afternoon from the heartland of Virginia.